Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Very Bad Things Decoding slash Counter Racism review. Um, wow. Getting started, I like to just refer to some things that were said in the chat that I think give a good take on what this movie was showing us with their characters. Dr. Sinky said that Kristen Slater is the king and she was the queen. And that's definitely correct. Those characters are, well, each of these characters in the film are white supremacists. Suspect white supremacists for the main characters, and definitely white supremacists for Cameron Diaz character. But what the movie shows is that it's actually the female is also very, very powerful. And I think that was shown in two different ways. I think that was shown with Cameron Diaz character, and I think it was also shown with the Lois character because she basically won. Unless she won that fight, she definitely was seemed equally matched during that fight. And I decoded that as the white man and white woman are either on equal footing or the white woman is more powerful because given the logistics of the system of racism and white supremacy and how it seems to function on a numbers games, is actually the white woman, the white female who controls the production of white people, and you need white people to maintain system of white supremacy. So I think that scene for me shows that white females, white women are equally powerful, equally deceptive. I would say more deceptive because they have gone under the radar for so long. You listen to many lectures, you're hear the term white man more than you will hear white people or racist man and racist woman. So the system of white supremacy has done a amazing job of keeping the white woman hidden in plain sight as being a huge component and person that has been maintaining the system of white supremacy for a long time. So I appreciate this very morbid racist film for that. I just also have to point out in this film that, of course, the very first people to be murdered in the film were non-white people, as a black male and a non-white female. And I thought that whole the scene where they're chopping up the body and talking about how they're gonna get rid of the problem. Kristen Slater's character, the really refined white supremacist psychopath in the flick. I don't know. I shouldn't even call him a psychopath because he's still there's everyday white supremacists walking around like that character, I believe, in 2021. So yeah, but anyways, that character, he described it as a 105 pound problem. And that goes to show, to me at least, how white people are really, white supremacists especially, are really effective at solving their problems. And as I decode this movie, it looks like the problem in this film was non-white people. The non-white people looks like they were definitely made to be the main problem of the film, and they solve that effectively, and then the film becomes about white supremacists harming each other in order to survive them to not go to greater confinement or for whatever reasons. But I'll hold my comments there and see if others have things to share.
Yeah, I found it interesting and agree that yeah, well, of course, you said you agree with me, because I noticed how Kristen Slater he immediately took charge of the situation as soon as it happened, and everybody else kind of just fell right on in, and that is the characteristic of what we're looking for when we're talking about racist white supremacists. We should be looking for the ones who are the smartest and the powerful out of the group. You know, I think a lot of victims tend to look at all white people collectively as if they are racist white supremacists. But it seems to me that if we go by what the characteristics of racist man and racist woman are, when we look or observe the behavior of white people individually, we'll be able to find the ones who demonstrate what we saw Kristen Slater did. And another thing I noticed, a lot of times I always want to know what white people are talking about when there's no non-white people around. And it also made me think about something my attempted father told me when I was smaller, was that there was a behavior that if anytime the racist white supremacists wanted to keep information away from us, they would put it in the book. And I'm looking at the same thing when it comes to movies now, all of a sudden, because this movie in particular kind of gave us a perspective of the type of discussions that are had when there's no white people around. Like I noticed with Kristen Slater, even though he took control of the situation, he still made sure that everyone in the group, and it was 5 of them. 5 is usually the number that works best when it comes to a team, like a squad, because if they take a vote, like he did, he had everyone take a vote, and by them being an odd number, there's no way to have a tie because it's 5 individuals. And usually from what I learned about, I don't know if every military branch does it, but I know when it comes to the Marine Corps, their squads operate in teams of 5. The squad leader, and then there's 4 individuals that follow the squad leader. There's some other things that I noticed too about the dialogue I'm glad that you put it on captions so we can see the dialogue, because the dialogue was interesting, and I noticed how they were speaking about, there was one comment that was made that Mexicans and Jews look alike, and they will be the next. Someone said something like it'll be easy for them to assimilate. And I found that interesting because just last week I read a report, the census, where they use this term Hispanic white, and I noticed that whenever the system uses the word, or the race of white supremacists use the word assimilation, they're always speaking about, I guess, white people that come from other countries that come here, and I guess they blend in, or find a way to blend in and become, white with the other white people, if that makes sense. But that census article, the Wall Street Journal census article that I read the other day, I did a video on it, and we went into looking at a lot of the different terms that they were using. The other thing, well, let me be quiet, because I know somebody else may want to say something, but I took a bunch of notes, so.
I think, go ahead, sir.
But I definitely agree with what has been said thus far. I also thought it was interesting when they were talking about race and how Mexicans and Jews have have like this relationship basically. But I wanted to go back to like the whole theme of the film is kind of deceit and violence. Like the film opens up with people lying to each other, and during the sex act with the non-white Asian female, notice how the other males are fighting and they're performing this very, very aggro, aggressive, violent behavior. They're breaking tables and I think white supremacists and white supremacy as a whole combine sex, violence, and pleasure. So I thought it was very, very. I think all the characters are equally horrible, and Kristen Slater definitely is the more refined and logical white supremacist. I wouldn't say powerful. Miss Nebula said more. Pretty much, he's more on code. But also notice the scene where he finally murders the non-white Asian female. He continues to ejaculate inside her corpse. I thought that was very interesting because symbolically, white supremacy it does involve itself in necrophilia and the consumption of all things, even things that have just lost life. I thought that was very interesting how he continued to have sex, and I also kind of suspect that he knew she was dead because he does go on to kill several more people in the film or attempt to, including his brother.
Yeah, I also wanted to add to. Sorry, that was great analysis. Actually, everything that has been said so far is definitely good highlights, and I agree with what Dr. Singh said in terms of having the subtitles there. We never had the subtitles, but just coming back and being able to see it, it just allows you to pick up what's going on more. And I wanted to also mention the fact in like the way in which the order in which they had murdered them, in terms of it being an Asian woman first, and then a Black man, and then a Jew, just like literally going on code of who it is that is okay to eliminate. I agree also, sir, when he mentioned that Christian Slater was the most codified. Definitely the fact that he took the opportunity to kill a Black person rather than actually look, or a non-white person, and especially a Black man, it's like he saw the opportunity, the energy was already there, so you could see the pleasure in the way that it was directed, and from also in terms of what Trey said about, Sert said about the switching, the scene switching between the pleasure, the males, and even the wrestling. The code that I got more there was the fact that it's the sport, the pursuing of penetrating a non-white female is a sport to them, just as wrestling is just the same as them messing around with the boys, and thus the vigorousness and removing the sacredness that is sex to the point that it could cause murder rather than the opposite frequency that it's supposed to create, which is creation. So yeah, it's very anti-life there.
Thank you, Mr. Sir and Miss Nebula. What you said, Miss Nebula, reminds me of a comment my victim mother made during the screening. She said they only brought one stripper, and it reminds me of what you said, like non-white females are a sport. She was like a ball, and then she was getting passed around. So that's why I only had one stripper, because sex is definitely some sort of game. And
they were also fucking each other.
Yeah, they were also participating in that homoerotic behavior, but with wrestling. And also, I think you're correct with you're correct, sir, with how they slipped in that necrophilia, and they slipped that in there in a really refined way, because a lot of people wouldn't classify that as necrophilia, but I definitely would classify it as necrophilia, and that, as Jeffrey Dahmer would suggest, goes hand in hand with the system of white supremacy. Dr. Sinkyu, was that you I heard?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I noticed the same thing. The message that I got when they were all wrestling and everything, it really sent an anti-sexual type message. And I also got the idea that it was like they were all turned on sexually by watching their buddy or knowing that their buddy was having sexual intercourse with the non-white female. I did catch the necrophilia thing too, and I thought to myself, as you know, when I think about there's these 14 words. I think it's we how's the 14 words go? I think we want to secure the existence of our people, and how's that thing go? The 14 words. Well, I was thinking of the 14 words when I when I thought about him ejaculating into a dead non-white person. It was like there won't be any more non-white children produced. It like the message kind of, I was kind of looking at what I was thinking was like, it was safe, like it was a message that was sent to say that this was okay to do as long as she was dead. As long as she was dead, it was okay to ejaculate because it's not going to produce white children. You see what I'm saying on that?
Wow, that's yeah. Yeah, see, I think that's makes a lot of sense, and I think that's a really profound decoding right there, because it's true. Continue, please.
Oh, and then the reason when I was looking at Kristen Slater, the reason why I was saying he had power was because he was controlling everybody. Like he showed the dominance, and you know all the other white males, they submitted to you know what he told them. And I remember there was in one of those, in some of the dialogue that when he was talking to them, like it seems to me like the words that he was using was like, you know, like motivation, like he was trying to do what a leader does to keep the team from falling apart. And one of the questions he asked everyone was, how do I function? And I know that's, you know, that's key to, you know, white people, how they, your racial classification determines how you function in the system of racism and white supremacy. So to me, it was like in ways he kept trying to keep them focused on, you know, who they were as white men. And the other thing I found interesting was when they buried both bodies, there was a concern for the yellow person over the being buried with the black person, like having their body parts mixed together. And they took it to, are there any Jews in Asia? So it was like they were saying, look, she could have possibly been Jewish, and because she is, we got to have some concern with her. We can't have her body being buried with the black male's body. So we have to separate the you know.
Wow. Can you, please continue if you have because that's something that's totally went over my head. I thought they were, because the way I see like this so-called Jew is like some sort of disguise, because we saw all five of these white men, all five of these white people in this film function as a white person, but they will often try to present this Jew phenomenon as if it's like some sort of like race or something, but I believe it's some sort of just a disguise. So yeah, I totally glossed over that. But I think Miss B wanted to chime in. I did see a hand earlier.
Hello, just to piggyback off of what Q was saying, the first comment, I've always been interested in Carmen Diaz, her background, and I looked it up, and says that her father is second generation Cuban and her mom is Native American, Italian, and German. And the Italian, that part, that's in bold letters, which I find interesting. It's very confusing. All these different terms that they're using to describe her family and her last name. She's definitely treated and acts like a white person, but I'm getting also a non-white background from her. I also thought it was interesting in the beginning. They use they mentioned Oprah, and in the same sentence they mentioned prostitute. It's way in the beginning, and in the race code war book, they mentioned like how like the word association and how like when they're talking about a non-white person, how they'll use something like trash or something derogatory. You won't really put the two together, and it might seem like it's out of context, but that's done on purpose by design, using, saying prostitute and having Oprah's name in the same sentence. That was way in the beginning. I'll mute my line for now.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the particular scene in the beginning. The scene where the notice how when they're killing the non-white people, the Asian female has a quick and I'm not sure it was painless considering she's engaged in a sex act with a white male, so I classify that as an act of rape. But she dies quite instantly. But the black male, we get to really get intimate with his death. You hear him scream. Then we hear him begging his oppressors for help. The people who literally stabbed him. So, like, there's all these short glimpses into how racism, white supremacy works on a global scale. Globally, black males and black females are, asking for help and not really working constructively to solve the problem. It's just acting emotionally, being guided by emotions. And I think the way they did his death was very, very interesting, to say the least.
Agreed. And notice the facial expression of the gentleman's face while he is screaming for his life and whining, and you get that sense of that, just almost like a squeal, and their facial expression is almost like they don't know what they're doing, like they're worried and scared, like they're not committing a murder at that moment in time. And for me, that's just the code of how white supremacy works, in the sense of this, well, we don't know what we're doing, while literally committing a murderous act.
Yeah. Sarah, I think you broke down that scene in a really definitely a way I definitely didn't understand it, because that's very true. She definitely died really fast, and we didn't have to watch her so-called suffer. But yeah, just the black male death scene, super disturbing. And like, I think you're correct about the glimpse, because black people are bloodied, and we're definitely some of us are begging for help out of the system of racism and white supremacy. But this is what's happening to the black collective. The people who can help us are the ones making us bloodied and killing us. So definitely got to go about the problem in a different way. Miss B, like this.
Something else I wanted to mention, in quite a few Hollywood movies, they always talk about marriage, and it's always, oh, white people are getting married, and then there's always someone that's against marriage. So there's something about that. I haven't been able to fully decode that, but there's something about, there's always a movie about marriage while talking about how, oh, it's not good, or, oh, you're going to be bored and you shouldn't do it. Also notice the drugs, coke, pot. Yeah, they were doing an awful lot of drugs in this movie. Also, the non-white black character, notice how he had to be a security guard. it's like no matter what movie that they have us in, we're always some low level type of job. He had to be a security guard. I think in the Terminator, the non-white person is a garbage man. And I mean, yeah, they make decent money. It's not a low paying job, but still, like, even in like 2045 or whatever in the future, we have these so-called low level jobs. That that's another telling thing. While the stripper was there and all the fighting over her, like trying to get at her, whatever, notice they're watching wrestling in the background. I thought that was very interesting. You're thinking about having sex with this non-white Asian female, but yet you have wrestling in the background, men wrestling with each other. I'll mute my line.
While they're wrestling as well, they're wrestling as long, while the wrestling is going on the television.
Yeah, I think this is, well, for me, this is evidence that, like, sex, anti-sex is just in the mind of the white supremacists and system of white supremacists. There's very little different, if at all, because the way they view sex is in a very destructive way. And I think the fight scene during versus Kristen Slater and the character named Lois is very interesting, because there's that sexual mutilation that goes there when she bites his testicles. Like, I thought to myself, she could have given him an elbow, she could have given it a karate chop, she could have given it a kick, because she's somewhat proficient at that. But the director decided to add that particular sexual mutilation to a white to white genitalia, and I think that's a wealthy moment right there.
Well, can I
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, if you pay, what I observed about Kristen Slater is he appears to be so-called homosexual. Okay, so if, like, in the wrestling thing, when you look at the wrestling, there's while the whole situation is going on, there's a part where him and the first guy out of their group that gets killed, Adam, is laying on top of him, like he's laying on across him, and yeah, that scene right there, they're face to face. There's a whole bunch of scenes during that whole wrestling thing that goes on where the two of them are in each other's face and they're having a lot of body contact. And then later on in the movie, there's a scene where Kristen Slater kisses
one on the far left,
Cameron Diaz is the groom. He kisses the groom for a long time. What'd you say?
Yeah, I said the one on the far left right here.
Yeah, there's a period where they're kissing longly, and then also Kristen Slater is the one that's against the marriage of the white.
Oh, I see. Oh, wow.
He's the one that's against the marriage. And I was gonna say, let's see, it was the Kristen Slater. Something I noticed about him being against the marriage. And then, like I said before, both of them are like the white queens, right? Like they're both the most powerful. Like from the very beginning of the movie, you can see Cameron Diaz demonstrating her power, by "Do you love me?" To get him to go handle some chairs, some issue that she could have handled herself, but she put it off on him. And if you look off throughout the movie, she puts a lot of little errands and things off on him. And so does Kristen Slater, really. He, in a way, he kind of does the same thing with the rest of them. But
correct. Oh yeah, and I just wanted to decode a thing that Kristen Slater's character said. He said lose. He said loose, not lose, and I think that means like that is a definitely sexual, homosexual innuendo right there. Loose, not loose. So I think you may be correct. and he's that white supremacist archetype that is definitely aware in just the system of white supremacy, but perhaps has chosen to practice white supremacy in a way that does not involve procreating yet, at least not that way. Ms. B, would you like to chime in?
Kyle Fisher, the groom, it was a speech that he was giving while he was with his friends, talking about his kids, his future kids. And he was saying that I would tell them that they are strong and important. I think that was code for racism, white supremacy, without saying, that you're going to be racist. I think strong and important. I think that was definitely saying that. I made my line.
I definitely agree with what has been said. I wanted to decode the this is something that Miss Nebula brought up, but I thought it was very interesting, the language that's used throughout the film. Towards the end of the film, Mort, guy with the glasses, he says he's talking about how he wants to do better, and he wants to join the Big Brother program and get a black one. That's the first one. The first time he mentions that. He mentions that he wants a black one, and he says, "I want a little black brother." Definitely a roasting moment, wanting access and closeness to melanin producing DNA. And also eliminating non-white people is apparently it's a good thing to do, and it should be agreed upon, because when Kristen Slater stabs the black male to death in the bathroom, he eventually says bingo, as in to say it's we have to do this, this is the only way. Ms. Miller, you wanna elaborate on that?
Yeah, I definitely researched bingo after, and saw that it meant exactly right, and just found different types of synonyms and expressions for it, and it all was like, when it's a good thing, or just reinstated that Kristen Slater, the character he's playing of Boyd, is definitely the most codified character that is prevalent throughout the film. And he basically shows white supremacists what to do at that point. If you can't bribe them, well, they were going to happily bribe the non-white character as the security guard. And the fact that it's only because he saw the opportunity, the fact that he saw the dead body, they could have played it off in any way at that point. They could have acted dumb, they could have did anything they wanted, but at that point, he drove that energy with a massive smile on his face and said bingo at the end of it. So the code there is, if you have the opportunity to kill a black person, do it. And it's exactly right in that statement of the dialogue. So yeah, that's what I saw from that.
Yeah. One more thing about Kristen Slater's character that I noticed is that another roasting moment, the consumption of these white phallus-shaped sticks, smoking cigarettes constantly after he kills Lois and the murdering brother. He immediately smokes a cigarette. He's most of the time smoking. And I just wanted to mention that because I often see him smoking, and I think that's a sign of him being insecure and whatever masculinity he thinks he has, or whatever. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of insecurities his character has, and he has this white supremacist mindset that he uses to kind of function in this society, because he knows that he can do things that will, gain him access to money, being able to frolic and have fun and go to Las Vegas and kill people.
Yeah, and he's also a really intelligent and powerful white supremacist, because he understands how the system works, because he knows that 5 white guys walking with a bunch of suitcases in Las Vegas, not suspicious. 5 black males walking with suitcase, through a Las Vegas casino, probably very suspicious. Probably would have had a much harder time getting away with such a crime. But this movie does such a, I think, amazing job at just showing us racism, white supremacy, what it is, and how it works. The system requires the death, the suffering of non-white people. We see that very early on with the black male and non-white female being killed. It also requires deception. Every single white character in this film practices deception. They lie. I would say even the race soldier, because they're legally allowed to lie to you. So pretty much every single white person in this film practices deception, and that's how the system operates, through deception and through people not being in the know, people not being aware of the deception being perpetuated. And we see that through Lois not knowing, through anyone not knowing about what happened in Vegas. And even when the so-called truth comes out, like Lois thinks she has the truth, they give her like a false truth, which is how the system of white supremacy will sometimes like present something to be true, but of course it won't be. But they'll present that information to calm emotions. And I think it worked. So Kristen Slater character killing her is just maybe that psychopathic personality kicking in or something.
No, absolutely. That is what a psychopath does. That is an example, a great example of what a psychopath does. And I'm not no damn psychiatrist or whatever, but what I've looked up in the past is what the characteristics of a psychopath are. He definitely fits in that. I had a question, 05, I wanted to know, were you aware, did you pick up on the two brothers being Jews?
Oh, I don't think I picked up on that everyone was a Jew until the funeral, because everyone had the yarmulkes, I believe they're called, on.
Yeah, all throughout the movie, the conversations that they're having, whenever they have conversations about Jews, it looks as though everybody else relies on those two brothers for information about Jews. Whenever they're having those conversations. What was it? Man, it was something else I wanted to, because I have my notes. Let's see, Kristen Slater, let's see, 5 times the Jews. I just wanted to say too, one of the things that I noticed about that the system has done a thorough job of doing, of confusing non-white people, but Black people in particular, is in making us believe that certain nationalities allow, when you hear that nationality, you're able to determine whether they're non-white or not. And I'd like to just refer back to when the code says that there's 3 types of people in the known universe. If you look at the different nationalities, like Cuban, or Mexican, or even Jew, because that is a nationality now. That's the nationality of Israel, if you're Israeli or whatever. But these terms, you'll find that there are people classified as white and people who are classified as non-white that both use they both apply those nationalities to themselves. Just looking at, if we took Cuba, for example, the way they set up that system, they had white people from Spain who moved to Cuba and set up plantations on that island, and they had slaves African slaves or Black people for slaves. And then, over the centuries when Cuba became its own country or whatever, all of the people, the white people and the non-white people on the island got the nationality of Cuban. So they have both white people and non-white people there. And I suspect, before I knew that, I knew that Cameron Diaz was Cuban like many years ago. And I used to think that I would just buy her name. And when I saw that she was Cuban, I said, oh, she's non-white. But she's definitely someone that would have to be asked the critical question, or if we did the research, we'd probably find some information where she actually says that she's white. And then that's how we would determine that. Just using an example, but you could do that with everyone across the board. There's another one that's Cuban. Andy Garcia is an actor that is Cuban, and he's played the roles of the characters in the movies, the way they're presented as if they're white. So that's probably what Cameron Diaz is known for, is playing those type of roles where you're left to presume or assume that she's a white person. If that makes sense.
Yeah, most certainly does. And just referring to race Cold War and the dynamics of race and white supremacy, and her in this film functioning as a very powerful white female. And not only that, in the system of white supremacy, the blonde hair and blue eye female is that's the top caliber of white female, according to some counter racist scholars. And so if a person has blue eyes and that blonde, like just the Aryan look, blonde hair, blue eyes, I think for me personally, I think it's safe to assume that they can function as a white person. They are a racist suspect at the very least. But maybe incorrect.
No, exactly. That's the description of what they call the master race, the so-called master race or Aryan race, or those features are what a lot of white people, the ones who are open about discussing racism, white supremacy, those are the features that they hold the highest. They refer to it as Nordic, or again Aryan, or the master race or something. I'm just gonna find those 14 words. If you guys look at those.
I put them up earlier, but I got them right here. The 14 words are, I thought they saw the 14 words are: we must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children.
Yeah, and that seems to be, to me, like the whole mantra. And if you're a white person who is like anti-sexual, then in a way you're getting in the way of the future of white children, because there is no future for white children if you have there's no sexual reproduction going on. And then at the same time, you have these there was a part in the scene where somebody said, I think they said, we'll do whatever it takes. I think it was Kristen Slater again saying this, possibly, but no, it might have been Cameron Diaz, where she said in that dialogue where she said she's waited 27 years. She was like, basically, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make, this happen, this marriage happen. And I think that, her going berserk or crazy at the end was because she realized there was no there was not going to be a chance for her to make or, you know, to create more white children. Once she looked around and realized who she had to take care of, she had, you know, her husband now has no legs, and his friend is, you know, he's paraplegic. They got to take care. She got to take care of them, and then the other, and they were all white males too, as a matter of fact. Which is brings something else to my mind that I got to think about. But anyway, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree to her coming to that dilemma. And I also think that perhaps in this film, Kristen Slater being countersexual, I do think him killing the black male is him compensating for him being, you know, a countersexual, because in his mindset, you know, I will not produce a white child, but I will eliminate a black male and a non-white and help to eliminate a non-white female as well, and which is what he did. So I think, I think we may be on something here, and I want to reference this really quick line here. These soulless lizards, and it's really common for white people. I've always observed in films and in media that white people referring to things as like lizards, as cold-blooded, as like draconian, and I don't know of any reptile or animal in existence that has behaved like a white supremacist has throughout history. Like in this film, we see these white people get away and participate in a really atrocious act, you know. So it's really hypocritical that they compare themselves to lizards, and I think lizards hasn't produced nearly as much harm as people who classify themselves as white has on planet Earth. But I don't know, they may be getting at something that I quite don't understand in their nature. I don't know, but it's just really interesting to always see that thrown into various forms of media, which is just white people talking, saying things in various ways. I think another thing I noticed, I think Church already mentioned the Welsing moment of yes, I just remember it. The white supremacists who survived towards the paraplegic one. He was very, very refined because he was one of the silent white supremacists who like kind of kept his mouth shut and head low, but still, you know, did what he needed to do to help the white team. And eventually, when he wanted to turn a new leaf, his goal was to just go and be around a black person instead of going to eliminate the system of racism and white supremacy, which is very common. White people, when they want to like attempt to be good, they think it involves like being amongst black people and helping them in an immediate way, which in actuality, the best way to help black people is to eliminate the system of racism and white supremacy. And the best way to do that is by getting the white people to stop practicing racism and white supremacy. So I just really thought that was a really interesting Welsing moment, and also just a pattern of white behavior that I'm able to detect.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in a bit of what you said about associating himself with the black child. It reminded me of when white people adopt non-white children. And also that scene, he also talks about the interracial thing being a problem. From my knowledge, segregation or desegregation, black people have constantly been in a state of extreme suffering. But from my research, from what I've been able to piece together, is that during segregation, at least black people had access to jobs random by other Black people, and also had their own economic institutions. I don't think that it's that could be classified as a bad or negative thing, even though it was an economic system within the greater system of racism, white supremacy. It appears to be more pleasant than it is today. But yeah, I think that's really interesting that you mentioned when he wants to do good, his first thought is to go be around Black people, and people are classified as a non-white. I think Helen B wanted to chime in. Sorry if I cut you off.
And just the terminology he used again was, he said, I want a Black one. And I appreciate that kind of language, because that's how they talk about us when we're not around. They say the Black one, probably the yellow one, the brown one. So, Ms. B, if you wanted to share.
Everyone brought, such excellent observations to the table. Like, I'm just blown away by what Dr. Senku said and what you said and everybody. I'm like, wow, like I missed so much. This has been mentioned before about how Kristen Slater, how like he's the brain, the thinker, and how he was able to remain calm and, to solve the problem of, murdering the stripper. And there was a point where he said that while he was making a speech, he said the shortest point is between A and B. It was in reference to like a math equation. And I thought about Neely Fuller and on the program Produce Justice. And he also mentioned how the code is like math, and, how to solve this problem, it requires thinking and being calm. And I'm not doing a very good job describing it all, but yeah, he definitely brought up a math equation, Kristen Slater, in trying to solve the problem of the murdered stripper. What else? Oh, also noticed that the wife, Kyle Fisher's wife, or soon to be wife, how she wanted him to get rid of the Black dog. I think that needs decoding. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, something about that. I'm missing it, but I know I wrote that down.
No, you just hit it on the head. They wanted to kill a Black dog. Black dogs are supposed to be precious in the system of white supremacy, but the Black dog is of course expendable.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think he also did a wonderful job at decoding and bringing up the point where he's describing their problem as a math problem, because he mentions it as a 105 problem, and then he also describes it as some sort of geometry problem with the measuring and whatnot. So yeah,
yes,
you're totally
exactly.
and that's how we need to look at the system of white supremacy as a problem we could definitely solve with the correct thinking. In this film, the white supremacists had the correct thinking to solve their problem, which was the Black male and Black female bodies being and getting away with that murder, basically. So definitely can learn a lot. Sir, I'm not saying y'all know who was attempting to chime in, but please.
It was me. It was me.
Go ahead.
So that's a geometric term, a term from geometry. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. If you look at Dr. Wilson in the ISIS papers, maybe some of you know exactly which page it is, but she gives some examples of two types of thought, circular thought and linear thought. She said circular thought is the thought process where we as a people tend to get caught up in, which is where we look at the problem, we talk about the problem, and we talk about how the problem needs to be solved, and then we go back to looking at the problem again, which is like in circles, as opposed to looking at the problem and then moving straight to solution. Logic, which is what Mr. Fuller talks about a lot, he says it came with the universe, and it does. It's based on mathematics. It's rooted in truth. So it's like you look at the truth. The truth is that which is, but you look at an actual fact the actual truth of the problem. And then when you start asking enough questions with the objective of just getting straight to the point, right? You're just going from the beginning, which is A, the problem, and then B, solution to the problem, is like the process that we should be going through, and trying your best to remove all of the emotion, because at least from my observation, Black people collectively, and since in order for the racists to continue to dominate us and subjugate us, they don't want us to think. And there's been like, a centuries long process, well, some say 2,000 years, others will say 500 years or whatever, but it's been a massive process used on us collectively to deliberately keep us from using our brains, unless it's to help them solve their problems. When it comes to us trying to use our brains to solve our own problems, that's when they make sure that we get massive doses of confusion, and all of that. A lot of that centers around emotion. Since we haven't been used to using our brains to solve our own problems, most of the times but at the same time we've been encouraged to express emotions. So a lot of times when we watch movies or when we do anything that's centered around discussing race or whatever, it involves a lot of emotional stuff, and we have to figure out a way. Well, I guess at least from my observation, the way to get past the emotions is to just keep asking questions about what it is that you're looking at, and eventually you'll get out of that, rise above your emotions and get into that thinking of logic, which is what we need. We need more people, an effective number of people, to be thinking in that way, so we could, get on with eliminating racism, white supremacy.
Very well said. Mr. Sarah, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I wanted to, first of all, I definitely agree with what has been said thus far. There's a scene in the film that I wanted to talk about. In particular, I think it was the ending about just in my mind. I'm gonna let it come back to me and let someone else speak.
Yeah, no problem. I want you to decode the opening title scene. Really quickly, we have white text over a black background, white over black. The system of race and white supremacy is a power equation over white over black. White power over the non-white powerless collective, and very bad things occur in the system of race and white supremacy. The atrocious behavior that the whole movie premises on takes place in Las Vegas. And what do they call Las Vegas? Sin City. And another thing about Vegas, this is probably like an inside joke the white supremacists are playing on with each other who go see this film, is that a lot of victims of race and white supremacy have been trained to love going to Vegas, especially in the area of the world that I come from, and not a lot of constructive things happen in Vegas. You go to a place where it's literally nicknamed Sin City for a reason, and I am certain a lot of victims of racism go there and end up getting charges and end up getting arrested and end up getting in all sorts of non-constructive trouble. But this film shows white people going to Sin City and doing very so-called sinful acts and getting away with it, because that's what white power looks like. So it could be a little inside joke they're playing with themselves. Let's make a movie about Las Vegas. Don't the Negroes like to go there? And something had to add to.
Okay, so I have a very real sad 05. So I want to, you guys remember the scene where John Favreau's character. I think his name is Cal. He's doing the prayer. And I think that's a prayer for racism, white supremacy. No matter the killing, the line, and deceit, may we still come out as being, important and strong. I think that's very, very. I would associate that prayer with like the global system of racism, white supremacy. And the second thing was how the film ends with this white female being basically like breaking basically, and could that be a glimpse of the dismantling of white supremacy? Because Miss Nebula mentioned how like it's kind of like the camera is leaving her, and the camera is like in this film, the camera is the gun, the camera is God. As a filmmaker, we use a lot of silly terminology, and we often associate the camera as being God. So I thought that was very interesting, and also if you listen to the dialogue when the dad's talking to the kids, he's talking about how let's do the honey badger salute, and in the early 2010s, there's all this hysteria about how strong honey badgers are and how cool honey badgers were, and it kind of became like a symbol for white supremacist groups and white supremacist individuals alike, and also the kids mistreat the female quite violently. They call her names, and they say that they call her names to really mistreat her. There's another thing also. Could it be that the guy who started all this, the main Jewish guy, the initial killer, I think he really does represent just like what white supremacy does. It causes chaos. It's uncontrollable, and it cannot be prevented. It can only be slowed down by drugs. I thought it was so hilarious when they're at the diner and Kristen Slater is telling him to give him another pill, and then Morty's like, he's already had 2, and he's like, then give him 2 more. Like it's never too much. It's always expand, consume. I thought that was very interesting. The film is extremely funny, and it just shows monsters and monstrosities behaving like functioning as they do as monsters.
This is totally I must have called this a very realistic film, but thanks for your comments, because I'm reminded of the whole Yurugu aspect of it, and particularly first I must commend you, because that was great. This is a prime example of a Yurugu energy that cannot be contained, can only be used for chaotic energy. This is like the white supremacy in a nutshell, and cannot produce life, only take it, which is why perhaps this character ejaculation, as Dr. Senku said, was done into a course, because there's no way to produce life in that manner. But I think it was his brother's character, the hyper paranoia in the gas station, and the feeling like that guilt. That guilt. It was really interesting. It's definitely like a Yurugu moment for sure. Have how perhaps the white conscious, when it has been disturbed, perhaps does function in this sort of hyper paranoid state when it has lost its power, because like and control, because this is a white man who is in a situation that he can't really control, and then that's when the anxiety occurs and the paranoia occurs, and he's unable to function and literally he's unable to function in the world anymore. He has to be eliminated by his brother. So that it could be giving us an example of what happens when the white man can no longer function as a racist man. Or at least
reminding me of what I have forgot earlier, the paranoia aspect. First of all, definitely well said, and I concur. So the brother, he has to be eliminated because he can no longer function. I thought it was really interesting when he's at the gas station and he thinks the guy is an agent, like a police officer investigating him. And then when he actually sees the black officer, he becomes fearful of his livelihood and his family and his future. And I thought they really captured that well, because that's kind of how I feel whenever I'm in America and I see a racial soldier. I'm like, oh, is this it? Is this the day I die? So it was very hilarious to see a white passing, supposedly Jewish character experiencing trauma from seeing a race soldier, aka police officer, but also because he is white and the police officer was a black male. I thought they were also playing on the aspects of the film that they just killed a black male, and also could be stereotypical, but I'm pretty sure they were also insinuating like all black males look alike, and were we supposed to think this is the guy he killed? He's seeing dead people now. He's going crazy. Very interesting scene. I just wanted to bring that up.
Oh, wow, thank you. Very, very just additional great decodes. And it reminds me of something that Cameron Diaz says that just goes to show that just this film is telling the viewer that just don't forget that the black male is completely worthless. Because I do remember when the groom is confessing to Cameron Diaz's character that he doesn't even mention the way he describes the black male. He says like we killed a woman. First he says that they killed a woman and in Las Vegas, and it takes a while for him to even mention the black male. When he does mention the black male that he killed, along with his white friends, he says a guard. And they this character here found a newspaper, like a missing newspaper. So they probably knew his name. He probably got the name, but still, he's referred to as a guard. We killed a woman and a guard. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And again, white racist man and racist woman and racist child are in this together because the children in this film, so-called children in this film, behave really incorrectly, I think. And Cameron Diaz character encouraged her white counterpart to go out and kill his friends, kill the black dog. And that's why we should definitely always be suspecting of not just the white man. Don't be out here just saying the white man, this racist man and racist woman. And I'm also reminded of some more language, because this film written by white people. The words said by the people in this film came from white minds. And I remember the black like assistants inside the courtroom. I mean, like inside like the place where they're getting like the information about the insurance policy, whatever. And the white kids are fighting, and she says, "Get these devils out of here." Do the writers of this film think white children are devils? Do white people, or do some white people have such a disdain for their children? It's really interesting, And also this is a genre of this film is also active racism. They would call this a black comedy or a dark comedy, which is always incorrect, associating negative things with blackness or darkness. And Trey, I do appreciate your sir, I do appreciate your film insight, because if the camera in the filmmaking world is equals God, and well, not the camera, but that particular camera camera view, and how it shows the camera like panning away from her, like leaving her, could very much well mean that like God has left this white female because a white person probably only feels like God is with them if they are in a system of white supremacy and they're able to do what they want. And in this case, she wanted to have a perfect racist family, but she was not able to. So she's left on the floor with no God. The religion of white supremacy did not do what it was supposed to do for her. And it shows the camera panning out. So her God, white supremacy, has failed her. But still, they're in a giant suburb full of other suspected racists. And the religion of white supremacy has not failed them because, you know, every single white person on the planet in some way, shape, or form benefits from, you know, the system of race and white supremacy, directly or indirectly.
Something else I wanted to bring up, the term brother was used, and it wasn't used like between just Adam and the other guy who are actually brothers. It was used in that term like a friendly term, and I've witnessed now I've witnessed white people, white males, white men use that term when talking to non-white males, and it's definitely incorrect. And there was also a part where Adam, when he all of a sudden he became religious and was talking about, oh, the bodies can't be put together. What if she's Jewish or whatever? And we have to separate the bodies. We have to separate the Asian body from the Black male's body. And what came to mind is the so-called anti-Asian hate. Not to say that Asians are not mistreated, but the focus seems to go more towards non-white people as opposed to white people. Nobody's focusing, nobody mentions how white people are mistreating Asians. It's always non-white people. And also the term combo. I have a combo over here when they were trying to take, separate the bodies, because they had them mixed up. So, and the term combo was used, and I immediately thought of delectable Negro. When I heard combo, I thought of food. And, like combo, like a combo meal. So, yeah, I'm gonna mute my line.
Thank you, Miss B, for sharing another great decoding that I didn't pick up on. I don't think. Yeah, so thank you. And I think you're totally correct. That is definitely some sort of consumption association, associating Black and non-white people with being consumed. Calling and literally we go get a combo. Sometimes you literally order like a 2-piece combo, 1-piece combo, and like, so that totally is very, very accurate. And yeah, the white people who orchestrated this film are really, really, really sneaky and have done a really it's an awesome job at racially coding this film from top to bottom. Again, with like the phallic symbols, using the phallic symbol being a cigarette to help a person, do what needs to be done. This is their sense of power. This phallic symbol they've created, and when the going gets tough, you smoke a cig and do what needs to be done after doing in this scene where they're burying. And for him to give religion is just what white people do. It's like one of their tactics. They go and plunder and decimate a land, a people, and then we're here to deliver religion, or we come in like love, and our God is going to help you. But and not one time in history has that ever been the case. Religion has always been a amazingly crafted disguise that white people can use and also wield against non-white people. First they use religion to conquer us, dominate us, and then they use religion to not force, but get us to, let them in open arms. by accepting their religion, their words, and their way of thinking, which has led to the system of white supremacy being as powerful as it is. Very,
And it's
very.
also
Go ahead.
interesting. Oh, it's also interesting when Kyle, when he finally came clean, so called, and he told Carmen Diaz about the killing and everything. She didn't really care about the stripper and the guard being killed, but once white people started, once white people were killed, then she started to care a little bit. Christian Slater, he has a line where he says he is the lighthouse. I stay lit. And that just made me think of Race Cold War, the book. And I'm not really good at deciphering, but some things like, stand out to me. Maybe later I'll be able to, think it through. And at the end of it, when the camera spans up and you see the row of houses. There was a TV show by the name of Weeds, and they had all the houses were set up like in that same way, like little boxes. And there was a song in that was a theme to Weeds,
Yeah, a little houses on the tippy top, something like that.
Yes. And I used to know the words, I don't know it now, but something about that and that ending, I have to look into it. It's just something to think about.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, because it allows just new pathways for my mind to compute. Because he says, you're correct. He says I'm a fucking lighthouse. Never go dark. I never go dark. What does I mean? Never go dark. Never act like a nigger. Maybe never think poorly. Never think poorly. Never
exactly.
Not be able to solve a problem. Perhaps that's what never go dark, aka never go nigger means. I suspect that's what it means. A lighthouse, to even further decode this imagery, the symbolism. A lighthouse is a sort of beacon. Sailors are all out in the sea, and they use that beacon of light as a lifeline to get to land, or they're gonna be lost at sea. So this is really powerful words being used here. So and he definitely was their beacon. He definitely led them away from greater confinement, which could be the sea, this analogy, and he led them to the land, which was them not going to greater confinement. So he's correct in his words, but just the light means white, and he's was able to accomplish what he accomplished in the film because he functioned as a white supremacist, as a very powerful, cunning, deceptive white man. And sometimes he's been nice and pleasant throughout the film. He was nice and pleasant sometimes. So hits all the markers. I think this film definitely covers all areas, especially dives into the psyche of what we're dealing with, the nature of what we're dealing with. But yeah, so just the power of sharing. I wouldn't have even been able to compute that hadn't you share what you said. So appreciate everyone's contributions, because of it. Yeah, it's just the cosmic timing. I just randomly scrolled to this of a nature not known by most. Could he be referring to the system of racism, white supremacy, and the reality that most non-white people have no idea what they're dealing with, what we're dealing with, have no idea that the average white person could possibly be a white supremacist, possibly be deadly, possibly have body under the floorboards, possibly be attempting or wanting to harm them or some people who look like them. So this is I think this was a great film to decode. And a year ago if I would have watched this film, would have just everything would have gone over my head, because you cannot see the racism in plain sight 24/7 if you are confused about racism. And I think the counter-racism science, the creator, Dr. Francis Cristobaldi, Gus T. Renegade, and Neely Fuller Jr., Dr. Ani Waremba, Delectable Negro, Woodard, I don't know your full name, but just Bobby, you're right. everyone who has allowed me to just see what's always been in my face is just because I think this is definitely why I uh, attempted to compose this book club, because I think Black people should be aware of their surroundings. I thought I was aware of my surroundings until white people showed me otherwise. So, yeah, I guess that's my just my 1 year acknowledgement of this effort being somewhat consistent. Any more comments?
I'm glad you brought that scene up. I also thought that was very, very suspicious. I never go dark. I stay lit for you. More decoding on the lighthouse, also a phallus symbol, you know, a phallic object. It could be, you know, a tower of, you know, squares, but for some reason it's shaped like a phallic symbol.
Correct.
Reinforcing, you know, they have to genetically survive. You know, they have to protect their genetic material. They have to enact violence. So yeah, very, very. I actually watched this film not that long ago, but I just saw so much more now, considering the books I've been reading. Yeah, I really enjoyed laughing at what I was seeing.
Same, because this is outrageous. This is an outrageous piece of content that white people have allowed us to see, and I definitely have learned a lot, and victims can learn a lot from this movie, and begin to really question, what are we dealing with? You know, are these white people really making this so-called progress? If so, why are non-white people, particularly Black people, still suffering? You know, it shouldn't make any sense to any victim. We should all want to get from under the system immediately. Go ahead.
It wasn't. I don't think it was mentioned, but also Cameron Diaz's character, like, brutally beats Boyd nearly to death for interfering with her marriage. And I thought the whole marriage ritual was on display. It kind of, to me, it was just really insane. Like, in Western and white supremacist culture and in a European culture, there's this marriage ceremony where the father is symbolically giving away his daughters. And there's these 3 white little girls who are throwing flowers on the floor. And I immediately understood that they were the symbols of fertility, that they're, you know, the father is leading his daughter to her new owner, her new man, in hopes of them reproducing and continuing to build the army of race soldiers, because racism and white supremacy can't function and sustain itself without, you know, the help of racist woman and racist child. But yeah, the marriage ritual is interesting, and a dead white male dying and screaming at the stairwell couldn't interrupt quote unquote progress. They made poor Morgan get the keys, you know. I mean, get the rings. Very, very interesting. And then it's also outrageous, because I'm asking myself, how are they getting away with this? How are they moving the bodies from place to place at a wedding? How are people not hearing the bride beat someone to death in the bathroom with I think it was a lamp or something? I don't know what maybe a coat hanger. But it's just a lot of Neanderthalic behavior, I would say. Yeah, it's a coat hanger, it looks like. And it's just interesting how they're able to get away with this. Is this film telling us that white people are just masters? They're so deceitful that they're able to kill someone at their wedding and to get married and get rid of the bodies? Right? It's just so much. It's a lot to question. I would say.
Just a quick answer to that question, is that the record will show that it has been done before. And also, the white woman is fully capable of what? Being as vicious, as violent, as brutal as her white counterpart, which is what this scene is telling us, which is also what the scene between the Kristen Slater character and Lois told us. Also, the white woman fully capable, and definitely the fertility and the symbolism behind the white father giving away his white daughter to go and continue the system of white supremacy by producing a racist child is definitely true. And also just to decode this whole marriage aspect fully, or I want to add that. So this film is like basically all about marriage, and a lot of people have to die for this white woman to get her marriage. You know, marriage and the way that it exists today is a white supremacist concept. You know, it's not really real, just a way for white people to pass on their material possessions. So in the system of white supremacy, like millions upon millions of non-white people have had to die for white people to create this so-called way of life. And marriage validates a lot of the organizations around the system of white supremacy, because you know the white man and a white female, white woman have to have some sort of validating Yurugu doctrine, and that's what that marriage is, some sort of Yurugu bond. Remember, the Yurugu teaches that white people like worship what is written. You know, marriage is like a law. You know, in order to get divorced, you have to like go through like the law. So it's pretty serious. So you know, the death of non-white people has historically been required for white people to create this concept called marriage. So it's really interesting, and yeah, they place a lot of value on that because it's one of the main ways that they can produce white children in a systematic way that works for their Yasili, their Yurugu. You know, so this is really movie tells a lot. You know, I kind of might want to watch some more Peter Berg movies or whoever wrote this film movie, because you probably learn a lot more. And yeah, racist woman Cameron Diaz character, blonde hair, blue eyes, fully capable of doing what needs to be done. Yep.
I'd like to add, I hope I'm not re-mentioning something that was already said, because I was kind of organizing my notes again. But the dad, Carmen Diaz's dad, I forgot her name, but Carmen Diaz's dad, when he was giving his speech, or was it Kyle's dad? I don't know which one, but the dad, when he was giving his speech, he had a picture up of Kyle when he was a kid, and he also had a picture of a mule, and the mule name was Jojo, and the mule was black. And there was a bestiality joke mentioned at that moment. If y'all don't, it was real quick, it was slight, but yeah, definitely bestiality was mentioned. Adam's obsession with his white minivan, that was another interesting part of the movie, and how a white car crashed in, how a gray car crashed into it. And if you read Ray's Cold War, then there's something to decipher in that. And also how the gray car was smaller than the minivan. And
yeah.
also, I hope that nobody mentioned. Oh God, I'm sorry.
No, you're on fire. You're on fire. Keep it going, please.
Oh, also, I hope I'm not mentioning something that was already mentioned, because I was organizing my notes. So another part, Kristen Slater, I found him to be interesting because he came off like a motivational type speaker, like self-improvement, almost spiritual, but not really. And he reminds me of those white people that go to those gurus. I watch quite a few guru on YouTube, and they're all non-white, and the room is always full of white people, and that's what his character reminds me of, the people in that room, in those rooms, and like they try to be spiritual and they try to learn all this or whatever, to gain knowledge so they could be better people, but it amazes me how they whatever they're learning is like they're not getting they're not interested in ending racism, white supremacy. With all the knowledge that they're getting, they're sitting at the feet of these gurus, these non-white people, these non-white males. They're not interested in ending the system. And something else, there was something being said quite a few times. The storm and these little brown trees, they're the only things that's going to be left. And I think that that's definitely something that needs to be decoded. I think the little trees represent non-white people because trees are brown. The base part is brown. Well, the whole thing is like, brown and green. So I think that represents non-white people. If y'all could help me to decipher that, that'd be great. If y'all can.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. B. I totally glossed over that speech with the trees, the little trees being the only ones left over. And yeah, trees are definitely brown, but nature, perhaps that also diving into nature and how the only thing that's going to be left is aspects of nature. Perhaps that's some sort of admittance or critique on the unnaturalness of these people we classify as white. Perhaps a mutant isn't natural. It's not supposed to be part of nature. But I may be incorrect, but I do. And that speech was mentioned twice. The little trees being the ones that left over when the storm comes. Well, what sort of storm? Probably some sort of storm by some greater entity that will punish white people for what they've done on planet Earth. Maybe not, possibly not, but that's where my thoughts taking me. And I definitely have other things to comment on that your comments brought to mind, but they're slipping me. So hopefully they'll come back before the discussion concludes.
Another I think it's fair to associate some symbology to this little white van that the brother was driving around. I think the first time you see the white van, it's transporting himself, his wife, and the children, and it's everything in filmmaking is for a reason. Like literally every single detail, every single thing you see on the set has been put there by production designer with the approval of the director after countless meetings. So I think that that van symbolizes the transporting of the future of whiteness. Dr. Senku kept mentioning the 14 words. I don't know it verbatim, but it basically is, we will secure a future for our white children, something of that variation. And then we fast forward to the scene at the wedding ceremony, the pre-wedding. I'm not sure what it is, but there's this scene where the brother who murdered the non-white Asian female while having sex with her, also while also raping her, kind of at the same time, if you understand how sex is verbalized while under the system of racism, white supremacy. But what I'm saying is that when the murdering brother killed his brother, he also destroyed that van, and later on those children are like left out their mother or father, and the van is destroyed. So it's kind of very interesting. And I think he was in this moment trying to the brother who is about to be killed. He was protecting like what was left of his whiteness, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, you and Miss B's comments on the van is like definitely the car, the dark Jeep being used as a weapon to destroy the symbol, literal symbol of the white family, which is the minivan. You know, the white man, white woman, white children. That's racist. That's the racist family right there. And the minivan definitely symbolized, like, you know, them. You know, just them expanding and like existing and, you know, doing their part to maintain and to exist in the system of white supremacy. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had the cows had a guest who mentioned how cars have historically been used as weapons. So definitely this movie delves and depicts that as well. And the brother, and also just you would think a so-called family would be you know, not wanting to kill each other, but these brothers were like they didn't like each other for the beginning of the movie. Also a bit of an insight and how, like, you know, just whiteness in itself is just possibly dysfunctional. I know all of my white associates who are they have relayed to me that they've had terrible upbringings, being molested by uncles and whatnot. So I don't love, and the system of white supremacy does not exist because these brothers, you know, this brother literally killed his other brother. You know, I'm sure there's a Bible story related to that, but that could be manifesting here. But the color coded with the dark Jeep, taking out the white minivan, that fear of like something black and dark destroying the feature or the existence of of white people, very, very real, and it comes up even if they're not even doing it intentionally. It comes up consciously or subconsciously. Dr. Francis Creswell saying. Yeah, if we have, I'm sure there's much more that have we probably have missed, but what was covered so far is very, very telling of what we're dealing with. You know, going through it with my my brain computer. Yeah, just if I was a white person, I would definitely just understood how this system functions. It's really not hard to see how the system functions. And I think Kristen Slater has it all figured out. Like he is the white. He is what I suspect the kind of white supremacists we are dealing with the most. His types and this types, the silent ones who just keep their head down and let white supremacy do its things. And there's the ones like Kristen Slater who are actively working to maintain the system through indirect violence and through deception, of course. And
yeah, something else that I just thought of. I don't know if this was mentioned either. I hope not. I hope I'm not mentioning it because I'm rearranging my notes. But the security guard, how they mentioned that he was young and how he probably doesn't have kids. I thought that was interesting. How they look at non-white males as boys, saying that he was young. Then it turns out that he did have kids, not only one but two.
Yep. Jeez, I'm just panning through, see if anything comes to mind.
Oh, so while you're finding that, also how they wind up having to take care of the two kids of what's that, Lois? They wind up having to take care, but they didn't think, oh, well, I didn't hear what they didn't mention anything about, oh, well, once y'all found out that the guard had 2 kids, what about setting up a fund? What about taking care of his kids? No, but you hurried and scooped up the two, lowest 2 kids. Only part that I chuckled at is when I think there was a car accident or something happened and the kids, like, they're kind of shaky and the one that was crippled was standing next to his dad and he kind of shook a little bit. That's the only part that I found funny. I forgot what happened that made the kids like that. I don't know. Did they have an accident or something? But yeah, that was the only part.
Was it this scene? I think when he got back in his car, he took off really fast because of like his anxieties. I think isn't that what happened?
Yes, he almost hit another car. Yes.
See, and yeah, also this is for foreshadowing, also a dark car right here, just to keep the color coded that they put in this film up there, foreshadowing because his associates become crippled this way, so.
Yeah, so after that, the kids, they kind of shaken up or whatever, and the one that was crippled, like standing next to his dad at the dinner, he was kind of like, you could visibly see that he was shaking up. I thought that was a little funny. Yeah, right around here. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the part right here.
Yeah, we just passed it, right? Yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
I did not find this movie funny. Did y'all find it funny, like hilarious? I didn't find it funny. It probably was, but I missed it.
I suspect due to my victimization and my insane programming, I thought it was quite hilarious, and I laughed quite a bit. And my victim mother said she thought it was funny too.
I also laughed quite a bit watching this film. And this is my I've seen this film like multiple times, but the more I see it, the more I understand it. It's very, very it's a white film. It's a white comedy. I started to practice changing my language when I speak of things like this. But it's a very, very white film, and I agree. I am definitely wanting to see more from this writer, to see what else he's revealed, because not what people can learn from this type of behavior. They could learn about the behavior patterns of the Urugu. And to me, I don't know why, but for some reason, like after the whole murdering incident, when it's just them alone dealing with each other, and like how try to suppress each other and get over each other, to me is hilarious. It just shows you that they're racing with each other, like we're not oppressing non-white people, we're just destroying each other. It's just so much to decode and to unpack.
There, if I mentioned this earlier, but in the comment section of the trailer on YouTube, they constantly made the reference dark humor, dark. And yeah, that was very telling in itself too. But this is definitely white humor. I didn't find it funny, but I could see how it could be funny maybe if I was under the influence. But this was very interesting. But I enjoyed trying to decode it, and I enjoyed everybody's observation.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the comedy for me comes with white people telling on themselves, because I don't suspect they make these movies in mind with victims, decoding them in this manner, So I think it's funny in that way. The acts presented here are definitely like, grotesque, very violent, and I felt as a disturbing, I don't know, I don't want to call it anxiety, but I'm very disturbed during the black male's death scene, and like disturbing to like getting like feeling uneasy. I feel really very uneasy during that scene, and I felt very uneasy during the prostitute death scene as well. And that just goes to show like that. I think that goes to show the power of films, because I know it's gonna happen. I've seen this film I've seen the film already, but yeah, these films they definitely affected me watching it. But yeah, we're definitely doing just work bringing the deception and filth that is in this film and making sense out of it. Perhaps some victims will actually learn a thing or two from this decoding. Creator willing.
I wish I had more time, but someone needs to look up John. What's his name? John Fair. I don't know pronounce his last name. Kyla Fisher, the guy who played the groom or whatever. Look up his net worth. Look up the movies that he's done, the production, director. Oh, it will blow you away. He's affiliated
Yeah,
with like the Avengers and Black
yeah,
Panther and this,
yeah.
that, and
He's
the
a
other.
big deal. He's a big deal. Yeah, and I've gone to realize a lot of like big Hollywood folks, they always have some sort of involvement and something vile like this, So not surprising. I know he is a very so-called successful film industry person. Yeah, and one more thing. The system of white supremacy. Is such a incorrect system that it's very much possible to get away with an act like this if you are effective enough as these white people were. They literally went to Target, like some sort of Target like rip off, because the store was like red and white like Target is. And I think that's just telling white people, yeah, your everyday grocery store, your everyday market has whatever you need to get the job done when it comes to cleaning up messes, all kinds of messes. Because I thought it was really interesting how it just shows them in their in the market getting items to clean up dead bodies, the electric saw, just really really interesting because it's very common for white people to use household items to do very, very nefarious things. So yeah. The crying, white tears perhaps mean very little. White tears mean nothing because the white tears didn't equate to anyone doing the correct thing, like maybe confessing to law enforcement or maybe just thought it just once you killed the first non-white person, female, confess. But the white supremacist cannot be confined or controlled. It must exert its chaotic energy, and it has created a vast global system where it's able to do that in many ways, whether it's through hiring a prostitute or playing ball games or watching a wrestling match or boxing. They have created a system where every single thing, no matter how little, is related to the system of white supremacy, in some way, shape, or form. And the system produces very, very bad things, which perhaps is a good way to describe what we call people, because we most certainly aren't humans. Humans are not supposed to behave this way. Humans are not supposed to be put in a situation where we have to watch these so-called movies about white people doing all this stuff in order to find out ways to get white people from doing what white people have been doing, which is maintaining a system of white supremacy. So very bad things, very bad things taking place in planet Earth 2021, and very bad things will continue taking place until an effective number of non-white people, get serious about changing their thought, speech, and behavior. If a monster like myself can manage to do a tad bit, I'm certain most victims can. We're not supposed to be content with just having a little bit of so-called money, having a little bit of so-called comfort with our wherever we dwell. You know, as long as white supremacy or white people are harming and mistreating people on the planet, you know, we should be wanting to put an end to it. You know.
Here. I agree.
So I think that was a efficient decoding of this film. Folks who watched, you know, maybe do some extra research on Peter Berg, you know, his life, you know, what he's about. Oh, yeah, Mr. Sarah, Miss Debbie Love. Just let you guys have any closing comments. Get into those.
Yeah, my closing comments is just there's a lot of programming in these films. The area of people activity known as entertainment is very powerful. I wouldn't be surprised if this film created copycat crimes or, you know, led to non-white people being murdered. Would not be surprised if that were the case. Yeah, it was interesting and constructive to be told this film. Those are my closing comments.
Yeah, shout out to you, sir, for putting it in my brain computer, because I didn't get the idea until you shared it on Facebook. So, yep, it was nice to do something for so-called anniversary CRWS. So, very much appreciated. For my closing comments, I think I said all I had to say. I would definitely recommend victims to only watch the film if you're going to study what you if you believe what was presented here to be of false information, lacking of correct information, and then watch the film. You know, tell me what you see. You know, do you see a film that promotes correctness, or do you see a film that depicts the actual reality that we live in, which is the system of white supremacy? I would say the latter. But yeah, white people have always shown us better than we can show each other, unfortunately, because that's the programming, it seems. Ms. B, would you like to share a closing comment?
Excellent picture. I've never seen this movie before. Definitely enjoyed trying to decode it. I will definitely watch it again and pick up on anything else that I might have missed. I think it's something else, you know. It's not better than They Live. They Live's number one. But anyway, yeah, very good movie.
Oh, and I should add, me and Sarah watch this movie. My victim mother as well watched this movie way back when we were toddlers, and we not once did we think it was about race and white supremacy. So that just goes to show the power of white supremacy. It's always in our face, but until you get exposed to the correct information, you will not know what you're looking at. So this film is all films are more enjoyable if you understand the system, because that's when you really get the true filmmaking, and that's where the true filmmaking comes in. That's when you see what you're supposed to see, and not the illusions that people may call like the storyline. But what are the people saying, and what are people saying and doing in the film as the so-called storyline takes place? That's the important thing. I think counter racism, understanding racism and white supremacy just a tad bit can definitely make Area 3 entertainment more constructive if you're going to spend a lot of time in this area, which Black people, non-white people do more than any group of the people on the group of people on the planet. So
That's true.
All righty, and I'm gonna wrap up there. Thanks again, everyone.
Business meeting. Excellent business meeting.
Thank you, Ms. B. Excellent participation and contributions from everyone. As per usual, honestly. Stop this.